Hello, everyone. I am Ojigo Rona King, your host on this podcast, brought to you by Knowledge Touch, and also the author of two books titled Like God, which I want to strongly recommend that you take time to read. It will do you good. The first book, which is titled Like God, is actually the result of our study, which was intended to help verify the true origin of man. While the second book is a dovetail from the main book based on the outcome of the study, which verified Genesis 1:26 as what we can say as the verified proof concerning the origin of mankind. Edition, we shall be reading or considering the fifth insight in the book Like God 101, which reads as follows. The text at the tree of life in Genesis 2:16 interacts with man at two levels. First, in terms of knowledge, and then in terms of skill. The first level of interaction refers to the ability to discover and recognize the knowledge that tends to life and which empowers a man with an equivalent capacity to avoid the ways that lead to death. Such empowerment is essential to enable quality choice making and responsible conduct that guarantee positive outcome. Based on the insight we just read, recall in the last podcast I made it clear that the tree of life is nothing but the school of spiritual maturity, and therefore compulsory for every man in life. And when I say man, I'm not talking about those who have accepted Christianity as their faith necessarily. No. Every man that is alive must go through this school in God's scheme of training. So until a man goes through this school, the man cannot become spiritually mature. And a man that is not spiritually mature cannot handle spiritual tests, cannot and pass. A man that is not spiritually mature cannot control the power of sin. A man that is not spiritually mature cannot deal with Satan, which is the primary essence of power and maturity in life, and especially in Christianity. So, as I said, the tree of life interacts with man at two basic levels: the level of knowledge and the level of skill, as we read in the inside. The level of knowledge, what that means is that no single man can be said to have come into the school of maturity without having the knowledge that empowers him or her to distinguish good from evil. Now, in life, there are a lot of books, a lot of knowledge in the world: engineering, mathematics, statistics, agronomy, and so on. But this knowledge do not give you the capacity to become a spiritual adult. It doesn't give you power, therefore, to deal with the power of sin and the power of Satan. What gives you that power is when you have access to the knowledge that gives you ability to distinguish first and foremost between good and evil. That is why the tree is called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's about knowledge first. Now, the between is where the capacity comes in. That is the point where you receive strength, power, capacity to distinguish and to choose good and reject evil. That is where the skill comes in. The point where the individual receives an indwelling strength and capacity, not only to evaluate, but to decide correctly and take a right stand in terms of choosing good over evil. That is the capacity or the skill level of, interaction that a man has at the tree. It is at this point that a man becomes capable of handling the challenges of life. Maturity or adult life is all about decision making. It's all about management. It's all about leadership. And it all boils down to choice making. That is why this school of maturity is so essential. Human failure at the family level, at the personal level, at leadership level, in terms of management, in terms of leadership, and so on, they boil down to lack of capacity to make the right choices. And essentially, or most especially, the ability to avoid the undue influence of the three principal sins, or let me say forces that lead to sin, which are the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. So the skill level in the school of maturity is actually what empowers any man with the necessary ability to make quality choices and to live and conduct him or herself responsibly to guarantee positive outcome. This is not a private knowledge. It's not something specialized for a select group of people, like generally assumed to be Christians. No, the Bible is written for mankind because creation identifies mankind to have originated from one point, and therefore all men are like Adam, as we said in the previous episode. So what made Adam fall? What made Adam not to be able to conduct himself responsibly is because he lacked the skill. And that skill is still lacking in, let me be conservative, about 70% of the world population. So we are talking about over 6 billion, if not 7 billion people. I may even say in the Pareto's law, they say it's 20 to 80%. But I beg to disagree, because the world today, for short of words, is sliding into chaos. And this is something that has come as a result of the accumulation of bad choices that all men make at different levels. So it is high time that we all take this issue of going back to our root to identify our origin and learning the intricacies and dimensions of application of this Genesis 1:26 to our lives, so that we can get our lives right and achieve our ultimate destiny, which is to rule over the earth. Talking about the skill, which has to do with the ability to make the right choices. As I pointed out, that was where Adam failed. And that is what has brought mankind into the distress that it is currently suffering in the world. Such as the dominion of sin and the power of Satan over mankind, regardless of race, nationality, ethnicity, and even ideology. At this present point, the world is still overwhelmed by all manner of problems, and what is necessary, which is the cause why these things exist, is lack of ability to make the right choices. Which is what, as I said, the school of spiritual maturity expects of every man. So, I want to challenge everyone to get a copy of these books, to learn more about their origin, and know the responsibility and undergo the training required to enable us learn to make right choices that will help us reposition ourselves, reposition our families, reposition our communities, reposition the nations and the world in proper order, so that at the end man shall be able to fulfill the purpose for which God created man and the world, which is to rule and not be dominated over by the forces of evil.